but nothing from the BBC. So the BBC, can Mariana Springer verify this? Or the BBC putting out false information, which obviously are, and now have decided they don't want to recant? Is that just to show that you are basically fabricating information again? Again and again and again. Like every single time, like everything you turn around and say. Remember the weapons of mass destruction, or you forgot about that. Remember Uncle Jimmy will fix it. You forget about that. They'll forget about... It's amazing how the vast majority of the population's memory doesn't last very long. And you see, the problem is with history. If you don't remember your history, like the Nazis, and how they gaslighted the population with propaganda, like the same type of propaganda we're getting from the BBC supporting a Nazi regime in World Economic Forum bullshit narrative, stop oil, you know what I'm talking about, climate change bullshit and all the rest of it, okay? So, still nothing from the BBC. Why people are paying for propaganda from these characters? I mean, they should at least check their source, but obviously didn't. It was a lie. So, we've got the Bank of England's left wing. Well, let's talk about what it really is. Total takedown of the economy plan, because they're working on a globalist plan. Remember, it's a private organisation, not the bank, not as anybody would believe, belongs to the government or anybody else. It doesn't belong to anybody. Well, the government's a corporation in any event. You know, they went all rogue with that quite a number of years ago. So there's Farage, victorious, but not really victorious. Is it really, Nigel, when, you know, they've rinsed you, but you've done a fantastic job, once again, to expose the criminality in these banks. Isn't it amazing how things all start to fall to pieces for the cult? You know, their woke agenda, right, their woke agenda. Now, obviously, Little John says they're just, no, they're not, you know, Little John, they're not at all, mate. I mean, what's actually happening here is a total political narrative, right? Like Facebook shutting down anybody who disagrees with the woke agenda, you know, and all this pedophilia and all this child molestation. And they only have to look at what the WHO and the UN are trying to push through. So children can mess about and have sex and they want to be sexualised at 4-year-old. I mean, that's really an absolute disgusting, filthy, horrible, satanic. It would have to be satanic. It couldn't be anything other. He has the best one, though. Yeah, I love this. So you're going to get a 6-month job. It's probably a gene editing job, yeah, because there's a lot of people that didn't get it. Quite a few, by the way. So they're going to come back with a 6 months. So every 6 months you get a job, right? To beat you. It will absolutely beat your high blood pressure, by the way. It will work absolutely, because you'll be dead. You see, after the last few years, right, of them injecting what we now know to be a biotechnical weapon, would you really, would you let anybody go near you with a needle, you know, from your doctor? There's quite a few of them are dead, by the way. People walking around with graphite ferrous oxide antennas in an injection point. Would you really trust them? I wouldn't take a paracetamol off them. Seriously, I wouldn't take. I mean, that PCR test, I mean, that was absolutely lethal. And the latency of it, those carbon nanotubes now float around inside your brain with a weaponized payload ready to be triggered from the, you know, those LED lights that gated council said pose no risk. Safe and effective. Oh, you couldn't make this shit up. But interesting enough, you know, I like to have a bit of a laugh about this whole thing, but it is pretty serious. I mean, this is good though, isn't it? I mean, how these lot, I love these people, fantastic. These just are complete and utter paid terrorists, funded terrorists by George Soros. A political agenda to harm you. Stop oil. What does stop oil mean? I mean, here's an idiot with a polyester tape of jacket on. What's going to go back to? Lamb's wool. Oh, sorry, they're going to kill all the cattle and the sheep, because that's right. So they need to get rid of all the cattle and the sheep. So there's no leather, there's no no textiles, no wool. But these lot have got polyester. Well, that's made of oil do they not know that? It just shows the willful, stupid, ignorant stop oil. And you know what it is? These people need to, need to hurry up and get that, they need to hurry up and get high blood pressure jabs, and then we're going to be shot of the idiots. Because if they're that dumb, they believe this shit, they'll definitely be on taking that shot. I mean, you couldn't make it up. They are dying, by the way, in significant numbers now. Yeah, and it is getting covered up with this. I mean, this paper, it's just like, you know when you used to get like comedy papers, in reality, right, the world's been run by lunatics. Now, obviously, we've got this puncher turf in the face, right, who's now been held in a man's jail because it's a man. Right, so you've got a man, right, who thinks it's a woman, right, who wants to punch women in the face. Now, when I was a lad, right, you never ever used to think about punching women in the face, unless they're coming at you with a knife or a gun, you know what I mean? You never used to even think, you didn't even think about punching a woman in the face. It just was beyond you. But you see, in today's society, men who think are women think it's perfectly all right for going around and punching, in fact, encouraging people to punch women in the face. And, oh, hang on a minute. So this lunatic was actually, she's on a life sentence. So we've got a life sentenced. She's just getting out from a life sentence of murder. That's quite interesting. She murdered her stepmother's brother. Oh, I'll tell you what, it just gets better. It gets better and better. So this is the leader. So this is one of these men who fancies themselves as a woman, right? And is like the leader, and she's been remanded back to prison for breaching that. I mean, when you've been done for murder, yeah, you've been done for murder, right? The best thing to do is not go around and start threatening, start encouraging other people to go on that. I mean, that's just meant that this is madness. This is absolute lunacy of the absolute you just couldn't make it up. We've got Elwood in a panic now. He's been across speaking to the Taliban. He's probably wanting to get a smack supply. Is that what's going on? I know that the Taliban have stopped. The BBC upset about that, by the way. Very upset about the Taliban telling the people not to grow heroin. I wonder what that's all about. As if we didn't know. BBC and the international drugs trade ran by, yes, you guessed it, never went away, East India Trading Company, Obviously, they must have gotten involved with CIA because they're the big cocaine importers and exporters across the world. Energy mis-selling fraud. How would you get yourself dragged in this? The government deregulated, and really they are the people that are responsible for this completely. I mean, listen, things weren't good when all this was actually in government hands, right? But at least you could actually go and hold them to account. I mean, I worked at BGC, which was British Gas, and before it was deregulated, it did have some semblance of respectability. And I mean, I heard about operatives at British Gas ringing people up and basically telling this a few years ago and telling them that the law said that it would be illegal for them not to have a smart meter. Now, there was a bit of a debacle there just a few weeks ago about people being forced into smart meters. And we know they don't work. A lot of them have to be removed because they're Chinese, and it's basically a way of actually shutting down the whole electrical grid. That's a bit of a risk. But never mind. This particular issue is, there was a big thing in the papers just a few months ago, and they're still doing it. So you see, there was a big scandal about it, but they're still going and forcing people to get these smart meters. Well, if anybody gets forced to get a smart meter, right, get in touch with the info at saveusnow.org.uk, CC yourself in, don't use Gmail because they block all of the communications now coming in, all right, or get us through, Facebook or some other platform, and then we'll avail you of the information so you can get that shit removed, because they are lethal. And I'm going to tell you now, you're fighting for your life. They're trying to kill you. It's another issue. I'm sick of hearing people talking about this one and that one. I'm not bothered. And I'll tell you why I'm not bothered. we need to come together, we need unity, and we need unity to fight what they're attempting to do, is kill you. If somebody tells me they're not trying to kill you, you don't know what you're talking about. I can see by the technology they're putting in, what's in the vaccine. I mean, the Florida, they've actually said it was a biotech weapon. The whole thing was orchestrated to get you to take that biotech weapon. What is that biotech weapon linked to? Well, I can tell you, it's to target, acquire you and shoot you with a 5G directional beam, okay? You might not understand the technology, but what I'm going to tell you is if you don't come together and stop all this nonsense and division and bullshit, you'll be dead. And if you want to die, just carry on. If you want to survive, then it's about time people started getting together. Believers.